Holloman, joined by Tim Staudt.
Nice
And
haircut. This isn't like the regular 620, is it?
it's not.
It's a
And we
little
got
more-
the weird background behind us that you guys don't have. It makes it look really weird. We'll get to that later. But you have got some news that is of a hot topic, I would
We
say.
got a lot of news today. There's a lot,
You were just asking for more time in the 6 o'clock.
Well, I do that every day. It's like Fred says, everybody thinks that after you get through football and basketball season, everything slows down. It doesn't slow down at all. May and June.
It doesn't.
There's always something going on, and
There is.
we don't even have teams in the playoffs. What if there were teams in the playoffs? We don't even have that.
What if we were in South Florida with
We
two
don't have
teams
any
in the
Michigan
finals?
State teams in the playoffs. We don't have any pro teams in the playoffs, and it's still as busy can be. The hot story today, to your point, though, is that Michigan State donor Matt Ishbia, who owns United Wholesale Mortgage, according to the Detroit News, is ending his name, image, and likeness contributions to 3 Michigan State teams, football, men's basketball, and volleyball, and that's up to $700 a month for some of those people, so that's $8,400 a year. He claims it's a conflict of interest in owning the NBA Phoenix Suns.
Do you agree?
I wouldn't argue with him. He's made just a little bit more money than I have, and so he must know what he's talking about. But Michigan State doesn't have a lot of donors. They don't have anybody, frankly, at his level. So if you lose that, that's a $1.2 million estimated annual commitment to name, image, and likeness. So if you're taking that away from your football, men's basketball athletes, where's that money going to get replaced? And if it isn't replaced, does it cost you athletes because they'll go elsewhere where they get paid?
Right, we've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, there's somebody, if you go out, the higher you go for recruits, more likely, the more they want to get paid. If you can't guarantee it, maybe somebody else can. Next week, the Southeastern Conference is sending a contingent of 8, including Nick Saban, to meet with congressmen in Washington, D.C. They're going to seek federal legislation that will regulate name, image, and likeness in some way that makes it equitable somehow, some way across the board. And without and I agree, if it's going to happen, the federal government is going to have to pass a law. The NCAA can't do it and get it through court. And that would hurt Nick Saban. Because like he says, the way name, image, and likeness works now, the rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. And so can Congress come up with a way so that Vanderbilt and Stanford, Northwestern and Michigan State, and Oklahoma, can they all have an equal opportunity across the board? I mean, I just don't think this system, the way it is now, is sustainable. There's no laws, there's no equity in it whatsoever, and you're just going to basically have donors, generally speaking, paying that determines the outcome of rosters, and that was never what it was intended to be in the first place. Whether that has any effect next week or not, who knows? That's a hot story. We got a high five for pitcher Caleb Bonnemer today. He was named the Gatorade Michigan High School Baseball Player of the Year. So now he goes into the national pool for the National Player of the Year. Will be chosen by Gatorade later this month.
It's always a good time. I always love
Okemos
seeing that.
plays at noon tomorrow at DeWitt in the districts. They'll have no trouble with Everett, and then they would play the winner right afterwards of DeWitt Grand Ledge for the district title. So 2 of the 3 between DeWitt, Grand Ledge, and Okemos will have their seasons end tomorrow, although if Grand Ledge loses, they still have the Diamond Classic Monday night at Michigan State against Olivet. That's in there. We got the Detroit Grand Prix on Channel 10, 3:30 p.m. on Sunday.
We do. I've actually got some video of some of the drivers who were out yesterday at the Detroit Children's Hospital. A couple little kids down there, got to meet them, get some signatures, get behind the wheel of one of their cars while it was in park.
I'd rather see the Grand Prix with normal traffic in downtown Detroit. Let them see how they can do it. Let them weave through everything. See it that way. Let's see how they do it that way.
It would be an interesting one, that's for sure.
The course is 1.7 miles. It's 77 laps. Some of the stands were trucked in during the off-season from the Phoenix Open Golf Tournament, which was held in January. And the expectation is with good weather, there will be up to several 100,000 people downtown.
So I edited this video, and I don't know why it's acting all weird at the bottom, but they actually asked that little kid right there if he was going to the race. He said
I'd
yes.
like to see that kid start it up and take off.
some of those kids sitting in those cars, it was almost, they have to put a booster seat in them, but it was almost like they were perfect size for those cars. And it's a grown man who gets behind the wheel, like right there.
It's an NBC Sports property, so that's a Channel 10 property.
All right.
So that's what we got.
All right, we'll have more of that video, and you can hear from some of the drivers and that cute little munchkin wannabe driver on our website, WILX.com. Well, this is something kind of cool. The Detroit Tigers are asking fans to vote for the next design of their field. What do you think?
I think they'd rather have better players. I don't think they're going to go to the ballpark because the design's different. I think they might go to the ballpark more if the team wins more. But when you're not a big winner, what are the different gimmicks you can come up with? A lot of teams have the issue. What gimmicks, the marketing departments, well, we're not winning, so now what are we going to do? How are we going to get people in the ballpark?
Right.
I assume that's the area code.
That is the area code for Detroit, and then it is that or established 1901 are the choices.
I don't want to be negative more than I usually am. I'm not sure that would lure me down there just for that alone.
Right now, the 313 is the winner, by the way.
They're in Chicago this weekend. 3 games for the White Sox beginning tonight. First pitch on Bally's is 8:10. And then 2:30, I think, tomorrow and Sunday.
I do have one more Tiger story. This is a day that lives rent-free. I remember, too. I was
20 feet from here.
You were 20 feet from here?
20 feet from here.
It was on this day 13 years ago, right there.
They had replay.
That call.
He'd have had it.
Yep.
They don't even have replay 13 years ago.
They
Mondo
didn't.
Galarraga. So he had a perfect game.
Look at baby Miggy right there.
He had a perfect game. And we had, I was covering the honor roll track meet. And I got back in time. The TV's on in the sports office, and it's, getting near the end. And as it gets to the 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning, more and more people in the newsroom. I was doing the 11 o'clock then. Which seems like a long time ago. They wandered in there to see if he was going to finish it off. Now, again, if you would have had instant replay, almost assuredly, that would have been overturned. That Jim Joyce was the umpire, and he later admitted he made a mistake.
Yep.
But that's why replay is used in sports.
And I do want to say, I was an intern back when this happened. I was a sports intern at WEYI, and I feel like everybody handled that very well. Jim Leyland handled it really well.
Well, the Tigers gave him a Corvette the next day to assuage his pain. And I thought if it was between a perfect game and of course, with the money they get, who knows? But a lot of people would have taken a Corvette.
It was a black Corvette. I remember very vividly.
To be honest with you, I didn't think it was a good look for the Tigers. If they wanted to give that money to his favorite charity in honor of him, but they didn't do that.
And Miggy's reaction right there was very Miggy.
He was a better player 13 years ago than he is today. But nonetheless, that's what happened 13 years ago today.
It was. I'm not going to talk about the Pistons coach just yet because, again, it's not official yet, but sources are saying that it's going to be Monty Williams, former coach of the Phoenix Suns, which Matt Ishbia is now part owner of. Highest deal in largest coaching deal in NBA history.
Boy, did they get ripped for doing that on PTI last night.
78.5.
Michael Wilbon ripped them up one side and down the other and said they don't have any idea what they're doing. It's not a coach's league, it's a players' league, and they should spend that money on players. I'm just the messenger.
All right. Well, what do we have coming up?
Well, I just gave you a few of them. I mean, plus the fact Fred's got the PGA of America president, John Lindert of the Country Club of Lansing. He gets into whether Brooks Koepka should be added to the U.S. Ryder Cup team, which will play in Rome this fall, because the PGA of America, not the PGA Tour, determines the Ryder Cup roster.
What's the difference?
Well, the Tour would probably not let him involved because he's suspended. But the PGA of America, which is club pros and so on and so forth, they govern the Ryder Cup. So if they want Koepka on the team, they can legally do it. The PGA of America would have to rescind the PGA Tour would have to rescind his suspension because he's on the LIV Tour. But because the United States has really struggled in the Ryder Cup and he's playing the way he's playing, there's a lot of people, even players on both sides, that say we want the best players in the Ryder Cup, and he's one of the best players. Hadn't happened yet, but at any rate, John Lindert can talk about it. He's diplomatic, but we ask. Oh, and then we got Adam Nightingale, the MSU. Rebuilding MSU hockey is more difficult than what he thought when he took over a year ago.
Very interesting. All right,
we got.
Don't forget, Grand Prix is on NBC on Sunday. I believe the main race is at 3 o'clock.
3:30.
3:30. Right, you can watch it right here on News 10, and I'm excited for it. Actually, I'm really excited to see it
Well,
right in front of the Renaissance Center. I think it'll make a.
I guess I can say I'm happy for you. I'm happy. If you're happy, I'm happy.
Right. Well, that's what we got. We'll see you guys later.
All right. I'm not here.